My family, hi, welcome to yet another one. So I've been hearing some rather unkind words, and I'm really ashamed to say that this is coming from the pulpit.
And I do not celebrate the killing of anyone. Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist. There's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil.
But even in a tragic death, you cannot rewrite somebody's life. And I am all the more concerned about how America and the media is trying to remix a life of racism and white supremacy that went forth unchecked.
So to be honest, my family, I don't know where some of these folks get this idea that the brother was racist. You know, we were celebrating him because he's a brother in Christ. He's a Christian. But we are now seeing, this smear campaign from preachers, which is sad to say, where they're actually saying that he's a racist. But I've been watching some videos, going through some of his material, and I can actually see that it's, to the contrary.
Call me a white supremacist. What evidence do you have that I'm a racist?
I was just literally watching a video of you talking about whiteness as a whole, talking about whiteness as a concept, okay? And you were trying to explain how white privilege doesn't exist.
Correct, it does.
You are a white man. How do you know?
What can a white person do that a black person can't do?
Black applicants to jobs are 50% less likely to get jobs with they have a black sounding name.
That's not even close to being true. That's not even close to being true.
That is a literal.
In fact, it's the opposite.
I'm not gonna argue your experience. I'm not gonna. No.
See, now you have to listen to him under your rules because a black person is going to say you're wrong.
He can say I'm wrong. I know.
Come on up to the mic.
I know. I read your.
My name is Keemon Dixon. I have a really black name. Please tell me how 50% of my internships have been denied when I've worked for Senator Mike Lee, Mayor Trent Stack, Speaker Mike Schultz.
Hold on.
I worked for a Congressman, Burgess Owens. I've actually worked on his campaign. I've worked on the campaigns of John Huntsman Jr. Please tell me how my black experience and my black man has not given me. Go ahead.
You are here in the wealthiest country ever, at an amazing university, with all the opportunity imaginable in front of you. And all you want to do is look backwards at everything that prevented you when you are a glaring example that there is no systemic racism and you can actually achieve your wildest dreams.
I never said that. Hey, I'm not the only black person who exists out there. There's so many people who this culture is affecting to this day.
Do you know black Americans are the richest black people on earth?
What statistic
Africa.
is that? Okay, I need you to pull that up right now.
You can. Black Americans per capita on average.
Can you pull that up?
I'm hosting an event right now. I don't know what to tell you. But anyone can fact check me on this. So you cannot find a black majority country or any country where black people have significant representation where they are as wealthy. Because even the poorest people in America are in the top 5%, the top 2% of wealth around the world. And so my whole belief is stop acting like you're a victim and start making better choices.
That's not racism. I am my ancestors' dream. I'm in the deep South, Tennessee, I don't know, 40, 60 feet, probably above tons of my ancestors that were slaves hundreds of years ago, living their dream right now. I am my grandfather's dream, who could not speak openly like this, who actually dealt with the Jim Crow laws, who actually dealt with real racism. I'm afforded every opportunity any white person is in this country right now. Are there economical differences? For sure. Are there some systemic things that we can get into? For sure. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't have it better than every other generation of black people that have come before me in this nation. I have it better. We all have it better. We genuinely do. I don't understand how people can sit here and call Charlie Kirk a racist when even back in 2018, 1920, hosted events like the Young Black Leadership Summit, where he would take 200 to 300 young black people all across the United States, invite them to DC, invite them to meet the president, invite them to the White House, invite them on this journey and this conference to learn more about the black history in this nation from other black people, to hear about stories that aren't taught in schools, to see a different side of our past as victors and not victims, being a part of founding organizations like Blexit, where they are active in a ton of different states, in a ton of low-income black neighborhoods, giving young black kids mentors, school supplies, rides, field trips, events, block parties. That man. But people just want to say, oh, he was racist because he said this one thing. That's not how this works. You're allowed to have an opinion. You're allowed to say things. And also, you as a person watching this video, you're allowed to fact check everything for yourself. You're allowed to think deeper and think critical about the things that are being said. That's okay for you to do.
Give me one thing that white people and black people have different biologically.
Don't change the question of this, like DNA-wise, we are different.
No, we're not. That's a lie. It has been disproven. Front page of National Geographic 6 months ago. Racism created by society. If you look at DNA independently in a science laboratory, they cannot distinguish between a black person or a white person if they look at just the DNA, because the only difference is the melanin. It has been disproven. Race is a social construct that I want to break out of.
I want to hear your thoughts. All right. So that's enough. That's by the way. So we now back to, some spiritual stuff. There is a video that some of you sent to me where you said Pastor Chris actually talked about things that can happen to people like Charlie. And this is the video I want to share with you. So this first one is when you talked about President Trump, after the failed assassination attempt.
First week of this month of July, we had fasting and praying every day for the first 7 days. Because I told you it was necessary. We had to pray, we had to fast. Because of the things that were inside the second half of the year. And thank God that we did. Thank God that we did. Thank God that we did. It was just a short while ago I told you to pray. And we all did. Pray for President Trump of the United States. And then look what happened this past weekend. There's so much to say. I think that it is very foolish to believe that it happened by itself with that young guy, so smart, outsmarted all the security details and the police. So let's leave it there for the moment. Why the investigations? Well, when they ask all the necessary questions. But those were the things we're praying about. I told you, the effort to eliminate certain people.
And this then now brings me to the video that I want to share with you. So he was talking about an effort to eliminate the people who are against the Antichrist agenda. This thing that is to do with, this alphabet thing. You know what I'm talking about. Some of these things are censored on YouTube,
Men have instituted different kinds of policies at different times that have led to the deaths of so many. But it's often difficult for people to consider that their leaders could actually do such things until it happens. But then it's too late. Then it's too late. The corruption in our world. And when we talk about corruption, I'm talking about those who lead to the deaths of others, the killings. It's not an individual. It's not a person. It's not a person. It's a system.
And talking about the system that was actually behind the death of Brother Charlie, I have this particular video I want to share with you before we get to some of the prophecies that Brother Brandon released.
The world stood still and was horrified after witnessing the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So initially when the story broke, the political divide in America caused both sides to basically blame each other. You had folks that were in the liberal media saying that the person who unalived Charlie Kirk was a MAGA conservative gun nut. And then as the details started coming out, more and more people were starting to see the full picture of what had happened here. And the broader pattern recognition, specifically with this sort of ideology being weaponized against Christians. Now, there's so many details to this story that we're going to unpack in this video, but here are the things that we know according to non-biased news. This is a website called All Sides, and what's been verified to the utter disillusionment and frustration of the mainstream liberal media is that Tyler Robinson was in a romantic relationship with a male who is transitioning to female. This is according to the Utah governor, the FBI, and this was reported to Fox. And I think the deeper question that some people have, especially folks that watch my channel, is was Charlie Kirk unalive for his faith, or was this something that was just a political issue? We're going to get into that in a moment, but let's look at the other facts that have been now verified across the news. This is a website called All Sides, and it basically presents how the left and the right covered this in terms of left-leaning and right-leaning media. Fox reported the news Saturday afternoon and cited unnamed FBI officials as its source. The two reportedly shared an apartment in St. George, Utah, and according to the FBI, Robinson's partner has been extremely cooperative and had no idea he was planning the assassination. Robinson's partner, whose name has not been disclosed, is not currently accused of any criminal activity with the shooting. But what is interesting is that it says one of Robinson's family members told investigators that he had become more political in recent years and lashed out about Kirk during a recent family dinner. Many criticisms of Kirk have been framed around comments he had made about the Transformer community. And of course, how the media covered it. Well, big shocker, the folks on the left omitted the details around this romantic relationship, while the right wildly covered it. But it's not just that the person that committed this heinous act was in a relationship that has now been verified and confirmed. There's actually more to the story that I think shows the deeper issue of why this happened. Okay, so by far the most shocking revelation about this entire case was just made by the director of the FBI. Check this out.
Written note, did he write a written note before the assassination attempt? That's what the governor said yesterday.
So what I'm able to say is, I addressed it partially earlier, is that the written note, we believe what did exist, and we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the was in the location in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note.
So now it has been verified that there was a note left in the home that the suspect shared with his furry partner. Now, another thing that's interesting is the internet detectives absolutely went to work on this. And this roommate / romantic partner of Tyler's, the person who did this heinous act, was into furry culture, had been transitioning from being a man to a woman for the past 4 years. And this is Lance Twiggs, the family member. This is based on information with a family member of Lance Twiggs. So the family member said she knew Twiggs was brought in for questioning. Okay. A neighbor claimed 2 weeks ago, several people driving cars out of state places were seen going in and out. They did not give off a good vibe. Now, as they looked into Twiggs, which is the boyfriend / woman, whatever he is, they looked into his social media accounts and found this person named Sherburn75, who posted right here to my side, and it says, "We effing did it." Lance Twiggs, the person who's in a relationship with the is apparently following people that are not just celebrating this, but are kind of alluding that there may have been multiple people in on this. And when they are going through the records and all of the online chatter, who knows what is going to come out of this. Now, the interesting thing is all of this has also gone on to widen the FBI's investigation into if online groups potentially knew in advance that this was going to happen. Okay, so this is no longer just a lone wolf situation. The feds are investigating if there were additional people that were potentially involved and knew about this. Okay, it says the feds have widened their investigation into the assassination to probe whether online groups and others connected with Tyler Robinson knew in advance about the plan to do this, the Post learned. Law enforcement sources said the investigators are examining leftist groups, both in Utah and online, to figure out if they helped him with the shoot or at least heard it was going to happen, which I believe would make them an accessory to this position.
And by hearing that, it shows Pastor Chris was right.
The corruption in our world. And when we talk about corruption, I'm talking about those who lead to the deaths of others, the killings. It's not an individual. It's not a person. It's not a person. It's a system.
So that was true. So one message we just want to send to all our Christian brothers, regardless of differing views and what have you, the way we treat each other, especially after the demise of one of us, it actually shows the world, how it is like in the body of Christ. A lot of people won't come to Christ if they see you, celebrating the death of a brother.